Rand has like the best collection of recipe books that he just has to bring out on demand to make the most fantastic pie you've ever had.
That is the weirdest analogy I've ever heard us use so far, and I still don't get it.
You don't know about these things. You don't know the secret treats that he has available.
Is this a "Can you smell what the rock is cooking" reference? Is
Can you
that
smell
what's
what the
going
ram
on
is
here?
cooking?
Oh my gosh, I wish it were. That would have been awesome. And no one will listen to it.
Welcome back to the Jack of the Shadows podcast, episode 17. You are listening to the dulcet tones of the VC boys. I'm Eric.
I'm Dave.
I'm Adam.
I have no beard.
And in this episode, we are wrapping up book 2 of Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time saga, The Great Hunt, with chapters 43 through 50. As usual, we will begin with our view from Dragonmount before jumping on to various social media platforms to choose who wore it better. Then we'll launch into Dave's favorite segment, What Shook Your Willow?
No.
Put our dancing shoes on for Chan Chan Chan. We'll then batten down the hatches as we prepare for some horny weather, discussing all things Matrim Cowthan and the Horn of Valir.
Or Cawthon.
Doffing off our Macs, it will be time to get randy before bidding happy trails to another Wheel of Time character, and it came from the shadows. We'll wrap up per usual with our Coplin of the week and who leveled up.
Horny
Getting randy.
weather.
Obviously, we have a lot of material to cover, so let's get our climbing boots on and get a view from Dragonmount.
Welcome to the extended edition of the podcast.
So last episode's chapters concluded with all of the major characters on Tomon Head. Fane and Bael Domon have both separately chosen to entertain the Seanchan High Lord Turok, to who Fane has given the horn and dagger. Egwene, Min, Nynaeve, and Elaine are all in Falme. Egwene and Min are Seanchan captives, but Egwene is an Adam to the Suldam Marina, who has decided to force her to accept the name of her old kitten, Tuli. Nynaeve and Elaine are free and trying to determine how to free Egwene from the Adam, and both women from the Seanchan. Finally, Rand, Mat, Perrin, Ingtar, and the Shienarans are on Almoth Plain trying to determine the best way to track down Fane before he does something with the horn or tries to harm the Emmons Fielders. So chapter 40 begins with Min walking away from Egwene as she's being tortured to accept her new name. Min walks out into the city and encounters Nynaeve and Elaine, who tell her their plans to free her and Egwene. Min takes them to Bael Domon, who has his own thoughts of escaping Falme. Nynaeve convinces Domon to stay in Falme until he can leave with all 4 women. In chapter 44, the Hunters of the Horn have followed Ingtar's suggestion and are scouting the plain east and west for signs of Fane and the Horn. The chapter begins with Mat, Perrin, and Huron finally regaining the scent of Pod and Fane just before Jeffrin Bornhald and 1,000 Children of the Light appear. The 3 escape, but Bornhald thinks he recognizes Perrin as they flee. Bornhald informs Jarrett Bayar that he is to stay behind the battle so he can inform his son what occurs. That's Jeffrin Bornhald's son. And Perrin, Mat, and Huron arrive back at camp, and Varen decides cryptically that those 3 plus Rand and Ingtar will enter into Falme to rescue the Horn. On to chapter 45, where Nynaeve miraculously frees a Damane from her Adam and captures the Suldam Sita before forcing her to take them to the Damane quarters. Meanwhile, Bael Domon prepares the spray in Falme's harbor. The scene then shifts to the 5 Hunters of the Horn arriving in Falme. Huron smells Pod and Fane all over the town, but is able to take Mat close enough to the dagger for him to identify its location. Things escalate quickly then as they decide the Horn must be with the dagger, and Ingtar decides to launch an attack immediately.
That escalated quickly.
They are able to find the location of the Horn and the dagger, and at the same time, Rand thinks he sees Egwene in a garden across the street. Of course,
he has some good eyes.
Of course, Turok appears, and Rand has a fight with a true Blade Master. Rand fights his fears, finds the void, and defeats Turok so the Hunters can escape with what they came for.
Little golden pants.
Chapter 46 opens with Nynaeve, Elaine, and Min
golden pants
using Sita to help Egwene escape, but not before they leave Sita and Rena beaten and terrified in Elaine's small apartment. The women exit the building only to find a large group of Seanchan soldiers approaching, say that 8 times fast, from the front and back. Meanwhile, Bael Domon settles his crew as things start to escalate in the city. At the same time, Jeffrin Bornhald gives the orders to the Children of the Light to ascend into Falme. In the city, Rand and the crew find Seanchan about to engage them, but not before Ingtar confesses to being a dark friend and covers their retreat in a desperate attempt at redemption. Chapter 47 hurtles toward the conclusion with the remaining 4 Hunters of the Horn squeezed between Seanchan and Children of the Light in a last-ditch effort at survival. Matt blows the horn of Valir, and the heroes of the Horn appear in a blinding fog.
I hope that's what it sounds like.
Yeah, it'd be the best.
A strange conversation occurs between Rand and Artur Hawkwing and the heroes before the group charges under Rand's dragon banner toward the approaching Seanchan. Bornhold also charges his legion into the fog as the Seanchan approach in a literal fog of war. Rand has another bizarre episode like at the end of the first book and finds himself transported somewhere to battle Baalzamon for the second time.
In the sky!
The sword fight between Rand and Baalzamon is mirrored in the battle below. Rand's situation becomes dire, and he has no choice but to sheathe the sword in a desperate attempt at victory. Rand buries his sword into Baalzamon, but not before the foe impales him with a scalding hot scepter in the side. That is not a euphemism.
That was a bunch of alliteration, though.
Right in the side.
Chapter 48 watches Min be drawn to Rand and try to warm him back to life with her own body. Egwene appears drawn by the same strange force that brought Min to Rand, and the two have a minor confrontation over the scene Min has created. Egwene leaves and Lanfear appears, revealing the true identity of Lady Selene. She gives some veiled references to her anticipated relationship with Rand and leaves with the idea that she will never truly be gone moving forward. As the chapters close, Jarrett Bayar rides away in a menace to inform Dane Bornhold that his father was murdered by dark friends in Pedron Niall, that Rand fought Baalzamon in the sky.
The Rand in the sky keeps on fighting.
As chapter 49 begins with Aradomon and Terabon at the brink of war and Cairhien in civil war, Egwene, Elaine, Nynaeve, Mat Verin, and Huron have already departed for Tar Valon, separate from Bael Domon, who has also departed Falme. Min describes Rand's wound to him and the fact that it seems to defy Aes Sedai healing. Moiraine also appears and admits that she's been in Falme some time, trying to learn what she could, but achieving very little. Through her, we finally learn what really happened with the battle between Rand and Baalzamon. The whole thing took place above the city of Falme in plain view to all, and it's now clear that Rand is the dragon reborn. The Shienarans present swear fealty to Rand. Moiraine has found the 2 seals that Turok had in possession, including one taken from Domon, and expresses her concerns for the world's future, along with some remonstrances for Rand as to the probability that he has killed the Dark One. Chapter 50
That's 2 times Eric said that word.
He's also said another one twice.
Chapter 50 wraps up our book with a word that the dragon has been reborn, beginning to spread. The Legion of the Children of Light has been obliterated completely, and Rand, Moiraine, Min, and the army of 100 Shienarans travel away from Falme. The chapter ends with a poem heralding the events of the dragon's arrival. And that, is our view from Dragonmount.
That was more than a mouthful.
So let's actually bring in everyone here at this point and discuss what shook our willows this week.
Good job.
Adam, what is your Willow moment of the... Yeah, we covered a lot of material this weekend and an additional 2 chapters. So.
Well, the funny thing is it's a lot of material in not a ton of reading.
Yeah. It escalates very, very fast.
That's what it was. Escalate. That's what he said twice.
As did book 1. Book 1, we were in the Blight for a little bit, and then they get chased by the worms, and blam, the Green Man is there, and there's the Eye of the World, and then they're fighting Forsaken.
Indeed.
So
there's a lot. Yeah.
This book ends with a very similar pace. Speaking of pace, Adam, let's pace right along to what shook your Willow this week.
So my Willow was intrigued by Verin in general, but specifically when she's drawn some lines in the ground.
Oh, okay.
In the dirt.
Tracks in the dirt.
And then this is when she's just sitting there. Rand sees her doing this. And then she talks about who should go into the town, and she draws lines on the ground again regarding them. Rand says he's going to go do it. Then she scratches a 4th line, and it was Perrin. Yeah, so she's drawing a circle all around them, and then Rand notices that this was the symbol that she first did before it was scratched out. And then at the end of when this is happening, after she says five will ride forth, which was the name of the title of the chapter, and it's pretty. She says, Rand looks at what she drew, and there was a broken wheel now with only 4 spokes.
Yeah, so
and not to step on anybody else, but we know what happens to Ingtar. I don't want to get too deep into that, but it's pretty crazy. So was that the wind doing that, or was that Varen predicting that this was going to happen in the future?
Varen is a crafty one, and she's a brown. She knows a lot of stuff.
She was clearly drawing these lines in the sand and picking out an amount of people that would go.
Yes, and she clearly had it figured out beforehand. It seems to me this is part of one of the prophecies.
Or something she read. She clearly knows it's going to happen.
All she's predicting is that 5 people will go into this battle. She has an understanding that one of them won't make it out.
Yeah.
I think that might be the one who doesn't make it out is a dark friend as well. So, she definitely seems to have some sort of an understanding of this being part of a pattern.
Is it something she had read about many, many times before?
Yeah.
I just find it very fascinating. This is a interesting character that we've had riding along at her own behest, we find.
Yeah.
Yes. Which we were talking about last week, but Moraine basically just, lets the beans fall. I don't think that's the right phrase.
I don't. If not, it's now going to be. Yeah.
Anytime I talk about
those beans fall,
anytime I talk
letting
about
some sort of secret being let out, I'm letting the beans fall.
Its fruition. Yep, and we just let the beans fall.
Reading its fruition.
Reaching.
Wouldn't that be greeting its vegetable-ish?
Love it. Oh, reaching. Not reading.
Greeting,
what is my
reaching,
fruition today?
Whatever. The beans have fallen.
Yeah, but anyhow, so she specifically chose to follow along with them, and then it comes up to this point, and she's this very, very important character to be there in order to send them out and understand that it should not be more than this, whether it's in prophecy or not. She's just brings up a really good point about the fact that Loyal, who wanted to go with them, would stick out because, he looks a whole lot different than everyone else there.
I wonder why Shinarans don't stick out. I mean, you wouldn't think there's that many Shinarans down in the
because they
southeast.
Look like human beings and they can put hats on their heads.
They got the giant top knots and the shaved heads.
Yeah, they can put hats on their heads to cover that up.
Do you see Ingtar putting a hat on to cover up his top knot?
You know what will really square this outfit out? Put a hat on your head.
Right.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Take this dirty old Cubs hat and put it on, and
well, that's my everyday life.
Varen is an interesting bird. She doesn't. She's not supposed
funny
to be
you
there.
Use that word because they always compare her to looking like a sparrow.
Yes, she doesn't. She's not supposed to be there, and she's insinuated herself into this story. Remember, the only reason she knows any of this is because she mentioned after reading the prophecy that one of the things must refer to the dragon, who she assumed at that point was Rand, and at that point Swan and Moiraine were like, oh crap.
Oh, the beans have dropped there.
Right, exactly. Those beans are falling.
David for the win.
Beans are out of the bag.
All right. What shook my Willow this week was Jeffrey Bornhold, who Adam several episodes ago called the psychopath. And we, at this point...
I was wrong. He's not a sociopath.
At this point...
I still disagree with him knowing what he knows and acting how he acts, though.
So, at the very least, we know that when it comes to the zealots of the White Cloaks, he's the one who... He's the level-headed one.
He's the least zealotous.
But he does some really, really strange stuff here. I still don't understand exactly what the only thing that makes sense is he's determined that the Seanchan are dark friends. And
because they're associated with the Aes Sedai.
And
he
doesn't know that. He doesn't know that when they head inland. Remember, at the beginning of the book, he is simply there with the White Cloaks for some reason that Pedro Nayal has put them there for that he doesn't even know, and he resents the fact that he's had the questioners
but the
put over him.
The questioners give him information about the Shan-Chan.
They give him information about the
And the
Shan-Chan.
information they're giving him is that
I don't
they're
know what
using Aes Sedai because
information
they
I like
think
getting
it's
from the
Aes Sedai,
questioners.
but they don't know. They don't know these women are actually slaves. He just knows that if they can channel, they're Aes Sedai, so therefore they got to be bad.
I don't
Aes Sedai are all bad.
I don't think that the questioners
The questioners have been
that to
there.
him. No, they've been fighting in skirmishes. I don't know that they're aware, because the reason I say this is because he has an interaction in these 6 chapters with the Damane, and he reacts as if this is his first time actually witnessing that there are Aes Sedai, and he mentions it to some of the people around him that now he knows that there are Aes Sedai amongst them, and it further it further puts his back up to fight this battle. So, but whether that's the case or not, he ultimately gets there.
He after he's in the battle and he sees the 2 women with the arrows through them. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I'm not sure what he's talking about.
No, it's when it's when they fight that battle themselves, but it is during that sequence where he's reacting to what's happened. Yes. Yep.
Yeah, because he realizes the fact that they're going to die, and he has twice the men.
It's a losing battle.
He might not even have a fifth of the men that the Shan-Chan have. He
No,
only
they
has
have more men
1,000
than the Shan-Chan in those battles.
Well,
in those battles,
right?
Yeah.
In the
And
battles,
his
those battles.
casualties
Yeah,
are massive.
not in general.
Right. And that's the other thing that I wonder what is going on here, because he's got to be aware of the number, and he knows he's going to die. That's the reason why he leaves Bayar behind to tell his son what happened. And also, I think he also wants other people to know that, because he disobeys. So it is equally probable that this battle ends and all people talk about is him disobeying his orders to go and lead a whole legion of White Cloaks to their death.
I can see the story not being about that. Knowing the White Cloaks, they will spin it somehow.
I mean, internally, not externally. Internally, amongst
even internally, they're all so deluded that I can see them.
That's true. They're just going to blame it.
They'll blame it on the Dark Friends.
On someone else.
They had those Dark Friend women.
Okay.
They probably convoluted made his mind convoluted or some nonsense.
That's one possibility. I think that there's a reason other than just an epitaph that he sends Bayar off to inform his son.
He's specifically specifically sending him off to the highest in command with a very different version of events that are taking place than would be in this telling the second in command.
Yeah.
The other thing that we learn here is that he was never 100% sure that Perrin was a Dark Friend. He leans in that direction,
that's really interesting.
But he was never, and that's what I always got from that original reaction, and that's one of the reasons why I was drawn to this character in the first place, is because he's a man amongst extremists who's I don't feel like is an extremist himself. And so we get that because there's the quotation that he says, Bayar suggests that Perrin is a Dark Friend, and he says, perhaps Bayar. And then there's the narrative, he wasn't entirely certain himself. But surely a man who seemed to have wolves fight for him could be nothing else. So he's leaning in that direction, but he's still not 100% certain, which fits in with his personality, which is to gather facts and information first, free of assumptions.
Yeah.
So
he's not all bad.
I still think that if he would have gotten Perrin, he would have still put him under the irons, though.
Yeah. Well, because he killed the children.
I don't think so. I don't. Right. I don't think he would have had it.
I
don't know if he would have had a choice.
Of the realm of the book.
Well, right, but
that's what this podcast is about.
He would have. I think he would have wanted to ask him questions, but we also get an indication from his interaction with the questions earlier that he doesn't believe in their methods, that he doesn't trust them for actually extracting real information, and I think he also doesn't believe that they even want real information.
No, he definitely does not. He's not on board with the questioners. That's for sure.
Right. So if Perrin had been
Adams
turned over,
put him in irons. He didn't necessarily say have him.
Sure. Yeah.
You know. put to the question itself.
So
yeah,
that's
no, he would have been not put in
Or if he
irons.
was, he would have put
been
them
put in
question
irons
himself.
and then had a hot iron shoved up his inner thigh.
Yeah.
so that is Jeffrey Bornhold. Let's talk about what shook your Willow this week, David.
So mine was the appearance of Lanfear.
Ever so brief.
But ever so powerful, because it goes to some things we've talked about the previous weeks of there are indeed other Forsaken out there.
There are.
So who knows how many more else. And there was something else someone else mentioned in one of the conversations about a Shamael.
Lanfear mentions a Shamael.
Okay, so it was Lanfear, yeah.
She says he thinks he controls events, so apparently
a Shamael's out there somewhere.
Yep.
So that now that we've had 4 of the Forsaken, however many there are, that are out and about, 2 of them are dead, we believe. She comes out, and to think she's been traveling with them for quite some time. And apparently enamored with Luz Theron, a.k.a. Rand, and has a whole future plan for them together. And she spares Min, which is interesting. You would think she would, I would think she would like try to bump her off because, she's encroaching on her territory, but no.
She seems to be really calculated about her moves, though.
Oh, yeah. I mean, well, yeah. I mean, calculated and probably frustrated with Rand because Rand's like, I want none of the glory. I want none of the anything. I just leave me alone to my farm and my sheep, which is not apparently what Lanfear wants.
Not what Lanfear is into.
Yeah, no, she's into Luz Theron is what she's into, and power and glory. But think of the glory. Think of the glory
that is Luz Theron.
Yes, but it's so glorious, the glory.
I like how into Lanfear Min is.
Well,
yeah.
You're stretching it a little.
The most beautiful woman in the world.
I'm not stretching it farther at all.
The most beautiful
she's taken it back.
girl. Yeah.
Right. She acknowledges that she's beautiful. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. And Lanfear does her magic appearing and disappearing act once again. Just poof. Yeah. I mean, it's just, I can't even imagine. And Rand doesn't know yet.
No,
that we know of, doesn't know. I mean, unless they said something to him.
He doesn't know.
Not
at the end of this book.
Well, from what we know, he doesn't know, unless it happened in some conversation that we don't know about, and they decided not to bring it up.
That'd be a weird decision.
It would be a weird decision, but I don't know. So, yeah, for all practical purposes,
where was she?
Who knows?
Where has she been?
Where is she ever when she can just appear at the right moment?
She just shows up whenever she needs to.
Well,
it's so funny.
A couple of things.
I feel like she's like one of those, if you're in a mansion in the 1800s and there's a portrait. Yeah, she's just in the portrait of this world with her eyes looking around left and right.
Yeah, I mean, she somehow got some ability that allows her to know where they are all given times without being seen.
Another interesting thing that we know about her now that we know who she is that it comes from Varen. After Varen reads off the dark prophecy to Swan and Moiraine, she mentions that Lanfear is mentioned in that prophecy, and she also mentions that that Ishamael was considered the most powerful Aes Sedai. But many people thought that maybe Lanfear was actually more powerful than he. She just simply chose to keep it hidden. So there is the chance that this woman who has been toying with Rand up to this point is
just giving him letters that are perfumed. Is
the most powerful channeling being in the world.
Yeah.
That's so
Don't
sleep
tick her
on
off.
that.
Don't make her angry.
Yeah, but she just really, she just really is.
Take her to dinner.
Got a thing for Rand.
Well,
maybe they should go get some tea.
Yeah,
we know that she has a thing for Luz Theron. That she was Luz Theron's lover before he wed Elena. So she is.
Elena.
She's still in love with him, and she tells Min as much. So with that love story,
My love.
that twisted love story has yet to play itself out. We'll be watching for that in books to come. All right.
I mean, I'd read about it.
Let's you're going to.
Yeah.
Let's put on our dancing shoes and Chan. We get
dirty Chan.
we get a pretty good idea of the Sean Chan now that they have fled our beloved continent. Thank God. Goodbye, Sean Chan.
Some of them, anyhow.
Don't come back. Yeah, there are still some. I mean, who knows what happened to Rena and Sita that have been left there in that room.
They're still hanging out
I will
on that
name you
wall.
Tuli.
Right, yeah. They're still stuck on they're still hung
Hoping
from a
no
peg
one
in the wall.
comes and finds them.
Right.
I kind of hope someone does come and find them.
Yeah, there's that.
I kind of hope no one does.
Then
and
they
they're
can
just
put them
stuck
under
there
the leash.
in their own fear, and they can't figure out how to get out.
So, Adam, you were talking about Bornhold's observation of how good the Sean Chan were. I think it's he who also observes that they had fought Terabonners and Damani, who had way outnumbered them and defeated them.
They are martial artists.
They are. They are the Spartans.
They have
the ultimate
slaves
weapon
on chains that
Right.
can find ore and disrupt the earth and strike lightning down. They've found ways to do this.
Yeah. They have Jeff Speakman, the ultimate weapon.
We get confirmation that those three-eyed things are Grom, which I've been assuming all along.
Yeah,
so
that's a great confirmation. Rand is very
I think we were
confused
all
about
right on that one.
Yeah, well,
We,
Am
the
I
readers, were right.
dreaming?
I was
No
the
one else
most
was.
right.
Dreaming?
I was the rightest.
As opposed to the left.
Yep. Why don't any of the Sean Chan raise an alarm as Rand, Ingtar, Perrin, and Matt invade the home of Mr. Turok?
They didn't see him.
No, they see them. The servants see them as they're running through the hallway, and they all just put their faces on the floor and bow down.
Well, that's
That's
the
what's
interesting
apparently
thing about
something
the
they
servants.
do.
They're all wondering why the servants are acting the way they are.
Right, they
servants have
keep wondering why the servants are just not doing it.
There's some sort of structure
Well,
there.
some of them are
apparently.
like committing seppuku,
Right.
and then the other ones are just putting their heads down.
Yeah.
Apparently,
This
I
is a
guess these
crazy
servants are
culture.
just so
Weird-
they're so
weird
trained.
experience to go through.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's one of
It
the
is.
things.
It is strange that they're not sounding an alarm.
No, nobody
Maybe
bothers
because
to
they're like,
sound an alarm.
maybe this
Apparently,
is my
they
chance.
think they
Oh,
must
wait, no, I'm
be
gonna
supposed to
kill
be
myself.
there. I don't know.
I doubt it. I doubt they think they belong there.
Well, they're bowing down to him, so they're
They're
so
like,
subservient.
this is
that
our
they're like,
time.
I don't think they're
You know,
bowing
whatever.
down. I think they're.
I will now wear even a more
Less
see-through
clothes.
gown.
Right. I will wear
I really hope those people are like in shape, if that's the case.
fewer clothing than I was before. And
I think they were. They were used to,
Probably.
they probably weren't fed
Have his
very
eye
much.
candy.
The hard knock life.
And yeah, I mean, even when they enter the garden, I think it's Ingtar or Huron. Somebody remarks that nobody bothered to raise an alarm and they stared right at him. There's so
in the garden.
remember
Yeah,
that.
they did.
there seems to be some sort of feudal law going on here where
They think they belong.
I don't know. It's crazy.
They're here. You must be here for a reason. I mean, you can't have just appeared here without someone letting you in. Of course. Go do your business.
Maybe you are like,
Go
this is
slaughter
the
our
one
Lord.
that is the most powerful. I should. I don't know.
We-
Some of them just.
It's weird.
We also learned.
I guess
that,
it makes sense though, because the ones that are serving the High Lord killed themselves.
Yeah. They didn't
So
like run
those
out
are
and be like,
probably
they killed
the
our
best
master. No,
ones
they're
to
like,
have
okay, we're
around.
done.
Ugh, I don't like this conversation.
I don't like them.
I don't like them at all.
we also learned that their entire Suldam Adam system is a lie.
Yeah.
And
Based on the
Egwene
information
and
given,
Nynaeve
yeah.
blow that wide open. So
Well, at least to themselves, anyhow.
well, they reveal it to Rena.
Right. You think she's going to talk about it?
No, she's not gonna talk. But we as readers learn that.
You know it's happening because of the way that the bracelet and
Right. Far more importantly,
the chain
is
is used
what
with
gets done with
Nynaeve
this
when
information.
she-
And I think we suspected that all along because of
I didn't suspect
the
it. Why
super-
would you?
I
have?
didn't really
Well,
suspect that it would be
Really?
that they could channel.
No. Why would you have thought that?
Well, because there's a supernatural relationship going on between the two.
Yeah, but that could have been the power of the bracelet.
It could have been, but it still would have. I mean, unless you think that the bracelet is one of, I suppose
power
you
of the
could have thought
bosom.
that the bracelet is one of those artifacts that works without channeling.
Yeah,
But
there are.
I don't know. I guess I always assumed that that there was still some sort of power that the other person would have had to have, and I also thought that
Sure, if you would, that's great.
My-
I just didn't.
I didn't know. I didn't either.
my initial
didn't see it coming.
suspicion was more along the lines of the fact that they developed it, because they do mention that they develop an affinity over time. I thought it was that, essentially the one power was sort of rubbing off on the Suldam.
By osmosis.
Right,
Flaking off.
which is sort of true.
So you know what
but
happened when
not
that
really
when that
true.
came out? The beans really dropped on that one.
The beans
Oh,
Yeah,
spilling the beans.
that's right.
drop.
Now I
yeah.
don't know what I said.
He said I dropped the beans.
No.
Exactly.
better.
I mean, I still don't understand. So the Shanchan also seem to be tied to Balsamon somehow. So at the very beginning of this book, in the prologue, he reveals that he's got like all these plans, and he has all of these different people in all of these different areas looking for the three Emmons Field
the three
boys.
Utes.
Yeah, and then in this battle, when Balsamon is winning, the Shanchan are winning, and when Rand is winning, his friends are winning.
Do you think that has
Yeah.
as much to do with the Shanchan that it has to do with Rand though? I almost feel like it could be anybody, any force could be on
Well,
the other side.
No, I thought it had
I
to do
don't
with both.
know. Another. Balsamon says to Rand that the ones that could have saved you, when he's talking to him before the fight, the ones that could have saved you are now going across the ocean. Is he talking about the Sanchan, or is he
No.
talking about someone else?
He's talking about I think he's referring to Egwene. The ones that came to save him are I feel like he's aware of
Okay.
Aes Sedai, and he
But she wasn't
knows
even
somehow
going
they're
across
leashed
the
and
way.
chained in there because she was supposed to be going
Yeah.
on a boat across
Yes.
the way.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's a whole separate conversation. We find out that he doesn't know everything, but
Which
okay.
seems to have been
I was
part of his
wondering if
plans.
he was talking about the Sanchan when going.
Yeah,
across
I
the
don't
way.
I just don't. I don't feel like the Shanchan are his servants. I feel like he's got.
I didn't feel like that either up until this point.
I still don't. I still don't. I don't buy into that. I don't.
Okay.
It just doesn't. I honestly feel like it literally could be anybody. Now, obviously, we know there's dark friends in the Shanchan, aka
Right.
whatever
So he
her
has
name
his
is.
fingers everywhere. It's not necessarily control.
So
of the
just so
entire
that I'm
thing, though.
clear, you think anybody could have been tied to the Shanchan?
No. I think that Shanchan army could have been Ilyaners, it could have been Tyron, it could have been anybody that was on that other side, and whoever was fighting against Rand, because Rand is the key
So
thing here.
what is it that leads Rand to the point where he decides to sheathe the sword?
I don't know what this has to do with the Shanchan part of it, but
It's
Oh.
now time to
Rawr.
put up our umbrellas for some horny weather.
don't know why.
So-
There's no sun up in the sky.
So the Shanchan are bearing down, and so are the White Cloaks. And our heroes are in pretty dire straits here. I don't think that they really have a choice. And before you know it, Matt's a blowing on the horn, which blows a single lovely golden note.
No, actually, it's
Oh, right, I forgot. I'm sorry. Thank you.
I think it changed a little.
yes.
And then slowly a mist arises.
I don't even think it was slowly.
and then
that
what?
mist came out of nowhere quick.
Well, yes, it did. But I mean, initially it wasn't just there. They mentioned that they can.
Then it creeps.
It's mentioned that they can see it
pe-
coming up out of
pops
the
and
ground.
creeps. Not to be confused with pops and locks. Two different
So-
It doesn't creep that much, though.
things. Yeah.
So then, before they know it, there's Rogash Eagle Eye,
There's everyone.
Guidal Kane, Burjeet, and
Burjeet.
Arthur Hawkwing, in addition to a horde of heroes.
A slew of others.
A horde of them,
Yes.
Mm.
but not that many.
So how many are there, Adam?
Do you?
I don't think that there are. I mean, there aren't thousands of these.
Oh,
these
no.
things.
No, there's not thousands. So how many is not many to you, though?
I would imagine that it's something around 100.
Okay, yeah, that's about where I placed it. I think it's
I wish
interesting.
I was witness to that.
I think it's interesting that here Arthur Hawkwing is to defeat his own descendants.
Right.
He's going to ride.
And that
against
never
his
comes
people.
up.
Right. And he has
His
no
son.
problem with it.
Yeah.
He has no problem with it.
Well, yeah, I that is weird. And we, like, no one says anything. No one says, like,
No.
nothing.
Right.
Maybe he knows they're a bunch of jerks.
Yeah, maybe he
He's
just
like,
totally
that
disagrees
was a
with the
bad
choices
scene.
they've made.
Or maybe
yeah.
this whole thing with the Sean Chan interpretation of Hawkwing's hatred of Aes Sedai is wrong. Maybe that's why he's okay with killing him, because he's kind of like,
I mean,
you guys have skewed my line of thought.
I don't know how they could have
Ta-ta-da-da.
skewed somebody who put a bounty out on Aes Sedai.
Bounty out is different than enslavement.
Well,
that's true.
sure. That is very true.
They're both equally vile.
Yes.
So I'm
well,
not.
I don't know. Sometimes you have bounty out for good reasons.
Well, sure. I don't.
Yeah.
But you've often
His
sided
case, probably
with
not.
the Aes Sedai. So I don't see how you
Yeah.
would find that a bounty on their heads.
Oh,
would
I'm
be
just finding.
acceptable.
I was just stating about bounties in general,
Yeah.
not his particular one.
So then Hawkwing turns and looks at Rand and starts calling him Loose Theron.
Oh yeah.
He knows what's up.
It's
Rand
been a
still in
while
denial,
since we've seen one another loose
Right.
there, and
and Rand's like, "I'm a farmer. What are you talking about?"
Sometimes I was right. Sometimes you were right.
Well, if I were Rand, I would have been like, "Hey, my name's Rand.
I'm
I know
Rand
who
Alpha
Loose
But you
Theron is,
shouldn't
and
be.
it's not me."
Bro.
You shouldn't be at that point. At that given
I'm a
point,
shepherd.
you've got one of the heroes of the Horn talking to you like he knows who you are. At what given point, what's it going to take? What's it going to take for you to accept the reality of who you are?
Well, Rand
it should
I think
be.
the answer
It
is
should be
does
Arthur.
more than
He
what
does
Rand
we
does
later.
start accepting the reality.
Not
here.
then.
It's more
Yes,
than what
he
we have
starts.
seen up
He
to
begins
this
the
point.
process.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
He drives me nuts.
Absolutely. And then Matt recognizes it too, and he says, "It's true.
Oh, yeah.
Burn me."
Yeah.
So
Burn me. It's true.
Yep. So he
Not only that,
also recognizes what's
good
going on
you,
here.
Perrin.
What about Perrin?
Good on him. He just goes and he chops
yeah.
down and he gets a sapling.
Perrin
and he
is the one who
takes
becomes the
leaves
man of
off, and
action
he's
here.
like, I'm gonna fly this for you, Rand.
So that's interesting, because the moment before, what leads to that is Hawkwing is ready to lead the heroes
But he
forward,
can't,
and
yeah.
he can't.
Right.
And at
Right,
that
I
point,
feel like something is holding me
right.
here.
And at that point, I thought, well, yeah, because Rand didn't blow the horn, Matt did. So he hasn't
Yeah,
even talked to
that
Matt
caught me
at
by
all.
surprise. I didn't know
So
it was
he
the banner.
Right, so he needs to talk to Matt, and it's not. So Rand still leads the heroes in, even though he's not the one who blew the horn.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't quite know what to make of that.
Yeah, it's weird.
It is a strange turn
Because
of
maybe
events
it's
for how the
because
Horde
it's
is used.
it is all about Rand. It's Rand's fight. It's Rand's
Yeah.
future to save the world, and everybody else is along for the ride.
But what would have happened if Matt had blown that horn and Rand hadn't been there?
We don't know.
We do know from the book up to this point that they've talked about the fact that whoever blows the horn gets these guys. It doesn't
Right,
matter if it's
right.
good or evil.
You get those
Well,
guys. What
it
those
has been
guys
talked
do
about,
is
but
a
it's
whole
been
other
talked
matter
about-
entirely.
It's been talked
They could play
about, and it's
Parcheesi
been-
with you.
It's been hinted at that whoever blows the horn basically has to do it pure of heart.
Yes, there
I
are.
don't know, for lack of
Well,
a better
to
way
find
of saying it.
They need to be pure of heart in order to find it in the first place.
And then they're
Yeah.
tied to you because it's important for the last battle, I
But
guess.
they're
I wouldn't say
they've
Matt
been
is pure of
afraid
heart.
that Fane was going to blow this horn up to this point because he could use the heroes. So there's an implied idea here that if you
Yeah.
can blow the horn, the heroes will fight for you. There's
It
no
does seem like it.
there's
Yeah.
no suggestion that they'll just sit around and play a board game with you.
It could be risk. That's fighting.
I would really love to watch them play a good round of Dungeons and Dragons.
So that
Right.
was another
Because then
weird
maybe
moment.
I would understand how to play it.
Right.
I thought I knew what was going on there. I was like, aha, here comes Matt. And then the book was like, no.
No. Chan. The
And
beans really dropped on that one for you.
As far
Oh my
far
gosh.
as far
Myth,
as
myth.
the
It's a running
horn
gag.
goes, Balzaman also thinks that Rand has blown the horn.
Yeah,
So-
big deal there.
Big
Yeah.
reveal.
Yeah.
Matt blew it. Rand understands a little bit in his head. I like how Rand decides to believe what he can when it's convenient for him.
Right.
Right, yes.
Yeah,
Not when
so he
when
believes
it's
a
like
little bit of that
really
in
important
his
for
head,
everybody
and
else.
I think it kind of geared him on to go sheathe that sword.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Okay. Let's find out
I have confidence and confidence alone.
what evil
Sheathe it.
exists in the hearts of man as we discuss It Came from the Shadows. So this is our moment this week to discuss the bizarre or the grim.
Speaking of bizarre and grim, did anyone find it strange that there was no pot on Fane?
Yeah, well, like the Battle of Winter Night, Pod and Fane, when things get tough, Pod and Fane disappears out the back door.
I mean,
Dave, that is a very good thing to bring up. Everything was talking about meet me, Althor.
Right, meet me on Tolman Head. So
and then
he shows up.
all
He's
we
like,
hear
let's
is-
do this.
Euron is like, he's been crisscross applesaucing all over this neighborhood.
Yep.
And then we don't see him.
No, not there. The dagger's gone.
No.
And then where's Fane?
He's hanging out at the local brew pub.
Apparently.
Where else would Fane
Well,
hang
we
out?
found out, and
Actually, Fane is doing heroin.
we
all
did
know
find out
Fane's a
that
heroin
Fane did
addict.
kill that other guy.
Yes,
Opium.
we did.
He's in an opium den.
He's in an opium den, yes. Right.
Yeah. He killed that guy that he wanted to get, and he got him all right.
What?
The guy's name is Huon.
I missed this.
Oh yeah,
Turok's
Turok
side
mentions
piece.
Side
not to be confused with
Turok's
his cod
side
piece.
Eric's album is dropping next Tuesday.
Right.
Oh wait, no, it's Fridays now.
Fridays
Next
now.
Friday.
But we don't know
Well,
with 100%
anyhow.
certainty that Fane killed Huon. We learn from Turok that Huon is dead and he suspects Fane. And of course we know that
Yes.
Fane wrote
Fane
it down
had it
in
in
his
for
book.
him.
in
His book that
head.
is in his mind.
Right,
Yes,
exactly.
the list of the future coming dead.
So
But interestingly, so Fane kills him without the dagger. It's just Fane doing
Yeah.
Fane.
Fane
Being his evil
being
self.
the most evil thing in the world outside of the Dark One.
Yeah, how do you think he did it? Just with some
It's a
smoke?
running gag.
I think he probably strangled him to death. Doesn't that seem like Fane's
No,
style? So he can look
no,
him in the
Fane's
eyes.
style would be to
Yeah,
like
yeah,
gouge
it
his
does.
eyes out and then urinate them in something like that. That's Fane. He's like gross and evil.
I don't know if
even
we have
why I
any
thought
Thanks
of
for
it.
that,
evidence of
whatever
him
that was.
urinating. Did you say urinate?
I did, because that's something Fane would do because he's gross.
I must have missed that chapter. Fane's urination.
That's something gross he would do.
Fane's diary.
Yeah.
Urination.
Today,
Chapter 2.
I put a check mark in my
Fane's
box of evil
urination
things to do.
fascination.
Hey,
Yes.
dear diary, I finally did it.
Yeah,
Hey,
exactly.
let's get back to It Came from the Shadows.
That is from the shadows.
Yeah, well, that was bizarre, but
There you go.
something equally bizarre happens in this chapter in that Egwene finally gets her hands on Rena outside of being collared by an Adam and just
Idam.
thrashes Rena.
Not as much as I would want.
Well,
Not even remotely
that's
as much
'cause-
as I want. Because
and why is that?
Nynaeve
What
comes to a
happens?
rescue.
That's right.
Why? Why
Some
Nynaeve?
humanitarian comes in and says, "Get a hold of
They
yourself.
don't deserve it.
You'll
Good for
regret this
Nynaeve,
later."
though.
Absolutely.
This is a
I
very
really
big
don't
spot
think-
for her.
I really don't think Egwene would ever regret it later. I think she
Yes,
would
she
see
would.
it was justified.
I think yes. I think that we know that Egwene is too kind-hearted to
I want to
live
see how
with
this plays out in the future.
live with that.
I
She's
think,
punching her in the face.
I think she's lost part of that kind-heartedness through this.
Oh, sure. Yes. Well, she's lost the innocence. I don't know about the kind-heartedness. But she's described as having this wicked grin on her face as she does it. So
it
she's
like a matte
clearly
grin?
unhinged. I could imagine it's probably a maddish grin.
Yeah. She didn't do
Like a
enough.
Cheshire grin.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
Cheshire? Have you heard of
Cheshire?
It's a Cheshire grin.
It's
yeah.
a Cheshire grin.
Yo, mate, I'm from Cheshire.
So yeah, she loses her stuff and just goes to town on Renna, and then Nynaeve pulls her off before she finishes Rena off.
I wish she had.
Yeah.
So that was bizarre. It was bizarre to see. It was bizarre to see Egwene in that light.
You really do.
But it totally makes sense with
Yeah, it
what
makes
she's
sense.
gone through.
Oh,
It's-
yes,
it's
absolutely.
completely justified. And I understand Dave saying that he would want more, but yeah, it is a big deal. And I think it's very important that Nynaeve is the one doing that because Nynaeve can only get her power when she's freaking angry.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Nynaeve
then
has
she's the
anger
one
management issues herself.
specifically just understanding who Egwene is and realizing, hey, you probably shouldn't go down this
You
path.
might not want to do that, even though Dave wants you to.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it probably wouldn't end well.
No.
I mean, maybe she would have large flying buttresses in many hotel.coms.
Speaking of non sequiturs, it's time to talk about a little Rand in Get Randy. So this is going to be a pretty robust discussion because this is the end of the book, and my gosh, Rand learns a lot about himself and finally comes to grips with a lot, right?
He has to. He's like, finally has to, like, okay.
Kind of.
Guess I have to admit who I am.
Yeah.
That doesn't seem like he does, but
I still think
he begins the process. He begins the process. I mean, there's probably still some of that Emmons Field stubbornness resisting.
Filling out paperwork for a loan.
I think he's taken the Emmons Field stubbornness and upped it a scotch.
He began the process.
Yeah.
After the battle is over, he's down in Falme and he starts to feel the tug, which seems to be an extension of what he's experiencing when he's battling Baalzamon. He's starting to feel the tug of his fellow Emmons Fielders, which we haven't experienced whatsoever up to this point, right?
How do you mean by that?
Well, he describes, or it's described that he can feel the three women pulling at him, Nynaeve, Egwene, and Min. I think, though he's unaware of that. Right, she's not an Emmons Fielder. But he can feel them pulling at him, and he feels Egwene pulling at him as they're leaving Falme, which leads him to want to return, which is how they get into the pinch between the White Cloaks and the Shan-Chan.
Falme is how it's pronounced, because
Falme. Eric's
I
pronouncing it Falme,
Falme,
but we know it as Falme. That's fine.
That's fine.
6 one way, half dozen the other.
So that's interesting. This is a new development of his supernatural abilities. I feel like what's going on there is he's sensing the web, and he, like a spider, when a fly hits it, he can feel the significant people in his life, vibrating the different strands of the web of the age.
Why can't he feel Matt and Perrin then?
I think there's a suggestion he might be able to.
Because they just have understood they refuse to talk about things.
Right. Yeah.
Right. It's emotional suppression.
It's it's implied between
he
the
recognizes
two of them. They're like, they just nod at each other like a sup type of moment. Sup. That's all they need to do.
I don't need to pay attention.
I don't need to talk
to
about this. Sup. That covers
it's always
it all.
vibrating.
We're sup brothers.
Someone's always knocking on the door.
Hey, speaking of the sup brothers and speaking of Perrin, and not to kind of throw back to
speaking of somebody who's not Rand,
a section we didn't. Yes, I know. But I found it interesting when the horn was blown. I was really hoping there was going to be a moment when they would look at Perrin and recognize Perrin for what he was.
No, because he was around before. Yeah, it would be nice because he was around.
Yeah,
his folk were around.
Because he's obviously got a superpower.
They've only got eyes for Rand.
Yeah, I guess. And here we're back with Rand again. Rand's the important one.
Speaking of which, he flies into the fog.
Dave is anti-Rand.
Somehow.
And there
I'm
is
anti-Rand right now.
There is, there's the battle going on. What happens? Because he's on a horse.
And then the horse disappears.
On a horse, and then the horse disappears, and he feels...
And what happens to that poor horse, I'd like to know. Good old Red. Red's been with us through two books, and now he's gone.
Yeah, happy trails, Red.
Yeah.
Also, what's going on with... Well,
Bella gets recovered. No, they recover Bella.
They get Bella, yeah.
They do get Bella
back.
Because they were worried about.
I want my Bella back.
But Rand doesn't get back. He flies off that. Off that horse. What, into the air?
I guess he's just transported magically up to the clouds, and the poor horse.
I mean, we know that he can transport.
Okay.
He did some crazy transportation at the end of the last book, but that's weird. This is another one of these Jordan things where it's just like, zip, boom, and there you are. And now he's up in the sky.
It goes to the whole weirdness of the situation.
Yeah, sure. Yep.
It
just happens very quickly, and it leaves you. I mean, we don't really know what exactly happens to him until Moiraine describes it a couple chapters later.
So the question is, is he going there? Is Baalzamon pulling him? What is it?
No answers. I have.
He's just there.
I mean,
and then the battle begins.
I think he goes there.
I feel like
I think he
that's
goes there because he's drawn. I think he's drawn there by the web. I think he's drawn there by Baalzamon. I think he's drawn there by who he is. I think
Baalzamon's done this before.
I think Rand is the impetus for it. There's no reason for us to believe that he isn't capable of this power.
And the whole craziness also behind all this is he's not there for this. He's there to meet stinking Pot and Fane, who doesn't show up,
and Matt, and get Matt's
and to get the dagger, the horn of the dagger. None of this was predicting this.
He's there for Egwene at that point, right?
Right. None of this was predicting this battle with Baalzamon. I mean, where did this come from?
Right. Yeah. But we do know Baalzamon has planned on being there. I mean, that's got to be what the prologue is. So
about. that also makes me wonder: is Baalzamon then therefore pulling Rand to him since it's his end game?
Yeah, that's a very valid,
very valid hypothesis. Using Fane?
And is he insane?
Is he using Fane? He is insane. We know that.
Well, no, I don't think. I think at this point we learned from Moiraine.
You don't think so?
That nobody can use Fane.
No, we found that out.
The reason Rand was going there was because that he had to meet Fane.
But
and then these other things came along.
But Moiraine points out at the end of the chapter, Adam, that Fane is his own horrible thing. He's on no one's leash anymore.
However, it is possible that is still a recognized piece of the web. And if Baalzamon can read the web, then maybe even though he's not controlling Fane, maybe he knows that Fane is going to end up there and draw Rand.
What evidence do we have that he's not controlling Fane?
Because Moiraine describes who Fane is in these chapters at the end
but
here.
There's it seems pretty convenient that Fane shows up there at the end and then Baalzamon. Well, sure, maybe you're right. Maybe he's reading the tea leaves.
Right. Yeah. I mean, could be or maybe it's some this prophecy.
Seems like the most powerful being in the world.
It might be some of this prophecy that we don't know enough about. That it's something that happens.
So
I don't know. I'm just not on board with you guys in terms of the fact that maybe he does have a little bit of control of Fane.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, we know that Fane was brought to Thakon Dar, and that he was made into somebody who could sense the three boys from Emond's Field, and we know now that
he could sense the one boy from. Well,
no, the three at
first.
Know
which it was.
No. He was able to sense the three. Moiraine describes this. Yeah. Moiraine describes this, that he can sense the three of them. But since it's become clear that Rand is the one now, that sense is, I think, honed in on Rand specifically. But Moiraine also describes that when he entered Shadar Logoth,
he became something else.
He became something else, and that other thing is a totally separate evil, not tied to the Dark One.
Not only that, Adam, if you notice in any of Fane's narratives, every single one, in not one of them, does he mention that he's following someone else's orders.
And he hates the Dark One. He resents the fact that he's
fine if he's
hounding these boys
orders,
without his choice.
Point, we know that the Forsaken are out there, so maybe he's following another Forsaken.
That would still be someone else's orders.
Yeah, but the Forsaken seem to be following the Dark One.
All right, well, we'll keep tabs on this.
Yeah, we'll see.
I don't know. See where it goes.
I do understand that it seems like it's a separate evil, but from what has been described to us, the biggest evil is Shaitan, and
I don't know. I think he's got to run for his money in Pot and Fane.
Sure, that he slithered away and didn't get killed. That is a big deal.
Yeah,
but he slithered away. He didn't try to fight.
Slither, slather.
So Baalzamon looks good.
Murdered by Pirates is good.
He does look good. He looks like
his wounds are almost all healed.
Middle-aged man.
Even his scars are almost gone.
Yeah.
So
he's healing.
We go from him.
Wonder if he's got some Aes Sedai doing work.
We go from something's going on. Yeah. We go from him, being killed at the end of book 1 to miraculously appearing at the beginning of book 2 to now here to where he seems almost completely okay, and now he's
recognizable as a human
sort
being.
Of.
We think, is this guy ever really dead? Who knows?
Right, that's fair, because I mean we would have thought Rand was dead, and Rand's not dead.
He's like a cockroach.
Right? And that's the other interesting thing, is something else that Rand observes about him is he's afraid of getting hit with the sword. He's dodging the sword as if he's fearful of it. So he's not a supernatural being that can't be killed by mortal weapons.
Poor sword.
Yeah. And then
well, no, Tam's good sword.
No, it's his
I know
poor
that
sword. It's no
I
longer
know that
around.
it got cut in half and whatever, but it did its job.
We
apparently.
think.
right before Rand does that, Balsamon remarks that Rand has a stupid grin on his face. What do you guys think that is?
Rand's stupid grin.
Yeah.
Apart from being a stupid grin.
I
don't know. I would harken it back to when in the first book when Rand created lightning in a jail cell to break out of that, and then he started laughing.
So you think it's a channeling moment?
Could be the effect of the power.
I think he loses himself.
I think it's
in the music, the moment.
I think remember that when Rand embraces the void, which he does here, he has a sense of calm, and even Celine/Landfear mentions the fact that you should embrace the void as often as possible because you're constantly calm.
The oneness, Rand.
Well,
be
because
with
of
the
the glory.
oneness.
And we also get several. There are a couple of other times when Rand embraces the void, and people say that he looks like he's smiling. So I think this is just
I remember that.
This is just Balsamon seeing Rand embrace the void, and the fact that when he
that
does,
is interesting.
he's totally
I never thought about
comfortable.
that, but Celine
I don't know
calls
if
it the
it's totally
oneness, and we
comfortable.
call
I
it the
think
void.
It's somewhat
Right.
dangerous from what we know about the void, and it seems like every time more and more that he grabs onto it, that it's going to be ending in a bad result.
It certainly makes him sick, or it's gross, or it's
Well, no, I
It's-
mean, well,
it is.
from the
more
stories
he's
that
been
we've
trying
been
it
told in the
lately.
past, who knows about the
Because
I
in
mean,
the first
he
book,
is the dragon reborn, but that means that ultimately he could lose himself in the power and have the worst thing ever in all time happen.
Well,
that's
the
happened
when
oneness
he's
there,
is
and-
separate
Do
from
you think
channeling.
it's him being comfortable in it and being okay with what he's doing?
Is
or
it
do
the
you
taint
think it's
on
him-
it? Who knows? The
him
taint could be driving
taking
him
him over
crazy.
like
I don't-
Venom.
No, it's the oneness is a Buddhist sense of being one with all things. So he's just
Yeah, sure, but it seems like what we know up to this point is that the more a man channels,
but
the
the
more
oneness isn't
possibility that
channeling.
he's gonna get.
Go crazy.
The oneness
sucked
isn't
into it.
channeling. The oneness is simply putting a person in a state where they can channel. They're two different things.
I don't.
I thought
That
that was
maybe,
the
but I
void.
don't know where are you getting that from? What Lanfear's saying? I don't know if the
Yes,
oneness
and Rand is
sounds the
having a harder
same,
and harder
but maybe they
time.
go about it through different methods. I have no idea.
So we've been talking about the fact that whether or not Rand has truly accepted who he is, and he may not have fully accepted it, but when he is fighting Balsamon, Balsamon is begging him to serve him, and Rand finally says, I will never serve you. In 1,000 lives, I never have. I
Right.
know that. So that is an admission to himself that he is
That he'll probably
this hero
begrudge
that
later.
keeps getting spun out by the wheel.
Yeah,
That he
yeah.
is Luce Theron Telamon. So
The question is, so if it's a
states
hero that's
it out
getting
loud.
spun out in 1,000 years, how many times has he popped up in this 1,000 years? Or is this just one time and then 1,000 years later he got popped up? Or is he appearing a whole bunch of times?
Well, we
in
know
those
it's been
1,000
3
years?
3,000
next
years
year
since
it's
the
gonna be
time
like
of madness.
Perfect Strangers. It'll be him and Balsamon just getting along,
Right, because that's
and just
another.
getting in
It's another
some
timeline.
experiences together.
Right.
So he finally decides he's gonna sheathe the sword against Balsamon, and let's get back into that earlier conversation we had. So my belief was that he sacrifices himself not because he wants to defeat, or he uses the heron waiting in the rushes not because he wants to defeat Balsamon, but because he wants to defeat Balsamon to save his friends. That
I think it's all part and parcel.
They are sort of
could
tied
be.
together, but I think that there's a significant difference in character between somebody who is simply killing for vengeance versus somebody who is killing in order to save their friends, because he looks down and there is a moment where he observes that, hey, when I'm winning, my friends are winning,
Yeah.
and when he's winning, the Seanchan are winning. So I need to win this
I
battle.
don't think he was
for
ever
them.
fighting at any given point. Was he ever fighting Balsamon for vengeance? It was a survival. Whether he went to go with him,
Well,
whether
he's-
Balsamon pulled him
right.
up there, he was on the defensive from the get-go.
But victory
Can we just go-
becomes
can we just go over the
necessary
fact
in order
that
to
hats
save
off to
Egwene.
Robert?
There are a number of different reasons why it could need to be done. It could need to be done for country. It could need to be done for kingdom.
It needs to be done for all of them.
Right.
But he chooses to do it for his friends. And
yes. And Eric's right about bringing up the fact that he recognizes
that's
the fact
reading
that the
into it a lot,
battle
I
is
think,
waning
but-
and weaving.
yes.
I never
It's
gathered
kinda like
that from
that
that. I probably
biblical
would never
thing
in a
with the
million
guy that
readings
has to
gather
hold
that
up his
from that.
arms.
I just think he just did it because it was what needed to be done. But I can see
Well,
what you
Dave,
mean.
you're saying the same thing.
Well,
Yeah.
I think I want to parse it though, because it is.
It seems in line with his character.
He is right.
He
exactly.
is always
It's a further
fighting
development
for
of
the
a character
people
type.
around him. He is not
Yep.
fighting for himself.
No.
So he gets another brand on one of his other hands,
Twice.
Yeah,
shaded,
big
branded,
deal. Big deal.
and
With what has been told to us so far.
Twice
Right.
the hair and marked.
so we know that this
Twice
comes
marked.
from what we learned from Tom in the Corethan cycle in chapter 26,
Yeah.
and this is farther confirmation to Rand that he is the Dragon Reborn.
One would think.
Well, he looks at it, and well, first of all, I mean, prior to this, he's had that quotation that we cited, or that I cited just a couple of minutes ago.
Has Rand actually looked at his palm, though?
Yes, he looks at his palm, and he's aware that the second branding is there, as he knows he's now lost his father's sword.
Yeah.
So, there
My
are several
father.
significant things here that sort of bind him to lose Theron and bind him to being the dragon. And this
At
is
the end of the book, he makes his decision, whatever that is. Cliffhanger.
right. Yeah. Rand also finally lets go of the hope that Tam is his father, which is kind of a sad moment.
It is a sad moment. It's like the end of last book.
Should have come to that decision a long time ago.
It's like the end of last book.
Rand.
Rand considers defeating Fane also as his only remaining duty, despite the fact that he knows he's the Dragon Reborn.
Rand has moments of greatness and moments of dumbness, like most people, I suppose.
That's that Emmonsfield stubbornness.
I think
It's mostly
beyond that.
dumbness.
I think we move beyond stubbornness into a whole other realm of weirdness.
You guys were talking about Loyal. The moment that Loyal smiles after Rand confirms that they're still friends is an awesome moment too.
Yeah, very true.
The
It's good to
Shinar
have the troop together in some way.
the Shinarans swear themselves to Rand, and Massima does an about face here at the end. He's been
He does.
Yeah.
Good for
Massima,
him.
yeah.
Yeah.
That was so awesome.
But now I
That's so
feel like
great.
he's all of a sudden turned into a white cloak.
Yeah,
He's like now gone from one extreme to the other.
Rand thinks he looks a
Yeah.
little feral. So, and then Moiraine has that brief conversation with Rand. What has she been doing?
That's what I was asking.
She's doing what she does. She's out there gathering information, trying to figure stuff out.
But even she admits that she did not have the success that she wished to have there.
No. Well,
She-
that's not necessarily. If she's as a channeler is out there
Question.
in Shan Chan land, I wouldn't want to be there. They can sense you.
Question for you, though. So Moraine knew those Aes Sedai that got caught by the Shan Chen.
Correct. Yep.
Apparently, there's nothing she can do.
We didn't know them before, right?
No, but there's a lot of Aes Sedai we don't know.
Right. We did not.
Okay,
We
so
only
it's
learned
not
their
someone that
names
we've
through
been
these
introduced to
chapters.
No.
themselves.
before, but we do realize that she knew them.
She
Yeah.
says that unfortunately she couldn't save them. But
So that was a discussion that we were having. I think it was last week or the week before, about Moraine always coming through and having a plan. And
Yeah, in
this
this
is
case-
a big instance of her. I don't know. It worked out.
Yeah, well,
but
there you go.
Two of her friends were lost.
Well,
But it worked
I
out.
don't think those friends were. Are you
Maybe.
assuming? Are you insinuating those friends were there with her?
No, but they were Aes Sedai, and there were a dwindling few, and they seemed like good
Yeah.
ones, not bad.
Yeah,
ones.
I don't buy that she could have necessarily done. She couldn't have done anything about that. I mean, you're in the Shan Chan land of. Yeah, you'd have been captured yourself.
well, once again, she admits that she wasn't able to achieve what she wishes she could have.
And what was that?
We don't know.
Yeah,
Not having them.
What is
die.
I mean, that goes to what is she doing there in the first place? We don't know.
I'm sure it's probably got something to do with Rand.
What that's a safe assumption. She's also figured out that everything's leading to Falme, so she must have a sense of what Rand saw on the door to Podden Fane's
She wasn't really
cell
happy about Varen
that
being
he
there.
rubbed out. She
didn't
has a sense that everything
horribly
is
upset
leading
about it.
here. And we don't. It's just incredibly mysterious. We don't know how long she's been there.
Mysterious.
She's been there for several days at least, because otherwise she wouldn't have been in any position to save anyone. It's just odd. She's not in this book a lot, and then she shows up here at the most critical moment and admits, "Sorry, I really couldn't do what I meant to do here, but I did gather a lot of information." And then she spills the beans on Fane. So we do get that.
The beans on Fane.
So that's
the beans dropped out.
That's right. That's critical info there. So as the book wraps up, it's time to bid happy trails to Jeffrey Bornhold.
I kind of wish
Ingtar.
like we had got like an ending moment for Jeffrey Bornhold.
We did.
Yeah, we don't. We get it through.
He charges.
We get it through. Jared
It's such good
Bayar.
writing, though, because he specifically says, "Oh, my son's not going to know how I die. Neither do we."
Yeah.
It's great.
Neither do we.
I like endings.
Um,
I like Ingtar's
So is
ending.
he. That's why he sent that. That's why he sent Bayar to go in the first place.
Yeah.
Well,
but
no,
we
not really.
we spent a lot more
But that's how
narrative time with
set it up.
Ingtar than we did with Jeffrey Bornhold.
With who?
Ingtar. You
Yeah.
remember
Yeah.
Ingtar?
Yeah,
Here we
but we had
go.
a lot of Bornhold in the first book. too.
Ingtar. Oh, we barely knew you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously, in retrospect, we can take a look at Ingtar's journey.
His
through
narrative
this
makes
book,
a lot more sense now.
and
We
his
have
angst
always been
makes much more
suspicious of this
sense.
guy.
Well,
We
been
have always been
suspicious.
suspicious of
You've
him.
been
We knew
suspicious
He's
something
been
of
was
him
up
since
annoyed.
the
with
beginning.
He's been horn hungry. I
I knew
would
something was
never
up
think
with him.
that he
I
was a
wasn't
dark friend,
suspicious of him.
but we've been suspicious.
Rand
You
hasn't
might
been
have been
suspicious of
suspicious.
him. In fact, at the beginning of
We
the
have
book,
talked about it.
No,
At the-
we've talked
He's
about
been
the
my
recently.
he's been my
We've been-
Coplin of the week a couple times.
yes, we've talked about it recently. Yes, here toward the end of the book, as he's gotten more and more aggressive with his statements of needing to find the horn. Yep,
Right.
we definitely have.
But were you ever suspicious that he was a dark friend? If you say yes, then
Right.
I'm not
No,
gonna
that's
buy
what I
that.
just said. I wasn't suspicious of that. I
Yeah.
was just wondering what was going on with him. And then guess what? We find out he's a dark friend.
Yeah.
And not only that, we find out that Rand, who is awesome, is just saying, yeah, you might have been a dark friend, but you are still a friend.
Yes. And he hopes he can find his salvation.
Very,
we hope he can find his
very-
salvation.
Unique circumstances.
Yeah,
there.
hopefully that doesn't become a problem for Rand at some point where he lets his
Right.
friendship allow the wrong
Well, it
person
seems
to
like
go
it's
free.
being a problem with this Lanfear lady.
Well, he doesn't know who she is. He has no
I
idea
know.
who she is.
He didn't know who Ingtar was either.
Well, but he did find out. I mean, we don't know what'll
We gotta
happen
hope
if,
at some
if,
point he
if
finds out that's who
Celine just
Lanfear
walks
is.
up to him and goes, "Oh, by the way, I'm Lanfear." He'll just go, "Oh, okay, cool."
Well, sure, but he's
Hopefully,
still-
you can do something
he's still
redeeming
getting-
and
he's still
return
getting
to the
wooed
light.
by this woman that we find out is a
The evilest of
beyond
evil.
dark friend.
But those I don't see those situations as being analogous. Because you're referencing Ingtar revealing who he is, and then at that point, with that information,
Sure.
Rand still goes, "You know what? We're friends, and you have a moment to redeem yourself." And he does. He takes that moment. Who knows?
Huron's just
and
like,
it's good on him, and I understand
but
there's a difference
Rand-
there, but everything leading up to it is not different.
I
Right.
have no comment on that.
We're just right. That is true, but we do have this additional information here.
I was sad to see Ingtar go.
Ingtar.
I am too.
Interestingly, there's a whole lot of stuff back in Fall Dara that involves dark friends. The only thing that Ingtar admits to or confesses
Letting
is letting the weird
that
guy
creepy
in
guy
who
in.
shot the arrow at whomever, and he doesn't know who the arrow was shot at.
yeah.
Right, and he was just saying there was no way I could have said no.
Well, he has a very interesting mental, acrobatic that he goes through in order to justify his decision, which is
Yeah,
interesting.
so it's for his people.
And we get evidence, by the way, of this in him all throughout the book. We get evidence of the fact that he feels like people don't appreciate what's going on there on the border. And that is...
Which makes sense the way that it's presented is because everyone
left
thinks
alone.
of Trollocs as being fairy tales.
Yeah.
And he has to face them every day.
He lives in a world. He lives in a world that's on the brink, and nobody appreciates what they're doing there.
Well, it isn't just they don't appreciate; they don't even like realize that it's real. It's like
exactly.
it's so. It's almost like they're just blatantly put blinders on about it, or something.
Yeah.
How long do you think he was the Dark Friend for?
That's a good question, and my guess would probably be forever. For a long
I don't know.
No, because when he talks about the way that he justifies his decision, it's obviously somebody who had been battling
he switched over
for
to it
a
at some
while,
point. Yeah.
And then became disillusioned.
He gave into it, and
was presented with an opportunity, became disillusioned. So, I mean, we don't know, and we don't know what else he's done.
Yeah.
It seems pretty clear that he's not the guy who let the who let the Trollocs in
those are the other two
at the
guys.
dog gate, right?
Which is even more interesting now that you think about it, because did he know those two guys were Dark Friends?
Right, we don't know.
It doesn't seem like Dark Friends know who Dark Friends are.
It sounds like they're isolated for a reason.
We know that. We know that a lot of them operate in isolation. But we also know that some of them communicate. So there's...
Some know each other.
Yeah, it's like that whole meeting in the beginning of the book. They didn't necessarily know who was who.
Yes. He just leaves a lot of questions, as far as what happened there at the very beginning of the book. Because then there's also the moment where Rand isn't allowed to leave, remember? The Amberlin seat arrives, and Rand can't get out, and
everyone's surprised by it.
And the person he goes to talk to about it is Ingtar. And there's a moment where he says, Ingtar wouldn't lie to me about this, would he? And he questions Ingtar.
Was like, oh, yeah, no, they should have let you out.
Right, exactly. Yep.
Yeah. Interesting.
Well,
I say interesting too much. Hopefully it wasn't this week.
Or it came from.
If it was.
But that is fascinating.
Yeah. So Ingtar is an interesting character. I mean,
sad to see him go.
Remember, he's the one that also led them to the edge of the Blight the edge of the border and the Blight, right? And was disappointed that he wasn't able to go and fight at Tarwin's Gap. So we've had Ingtar in our lives for a while, and he's been a very, very noble. He's been
slightly crazy,
a very noble character. Well, he became crazy here at the end, which was disconcerting. But there we go, and now he's gone. So long, Ingtar.
Goodbye, Ingtar.
Happy trails to you.
It was a weird journey with you, man.
So he wasn't really all that great at the end. Who else wasn't great this week? Who are our Coplins of the week? Mine is Matt.
That's a good choice.
He
does his Matt thing.
Matt, he is just a needler and just a piece of meat between your teeth that you can't get out. I mean,
Can you blame him right now?
That fatty part of that meat.
Right.
But can you blame him right now?
Well, I can blame him when...
Can we ever at this point?
When he, Rand, and Perrin are escaping the White Cloaks, and Perrin says, okay, we're safe now, and seems a bit uncomfortable, but also certain, and Matt keeps plying at him as like, how are you sure? How can you be so sure? What's going on?
I think he's still suffering the effects. We know he is still suffering the effects of the dagger.
And this all fits into the character of Matt before the dagger, though. And finally, Perrin has to shut him down. And then there's the moment where Rand starts saying stuff, and Matt says, hey, you're not going to go crazy right now and kill all of us, are you, Rand?
That's typical.
Oh,
that is annoying.
Thanks, Matt. You freaking
This time
idiot.
Perrin doesn't
Matt,
punch him like
what
he
is
should.
the thing that you say all the time? I'm going to go crazy? Yeah, say it right now. Yeah, he's always saying that. Ugh.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's Matt's thing.
Ugh, Matt. So Matt is definitely my Coplin of the week.
Mine is...
We got a lot of choices here,
My
guys.
Coplin of the week is a people, and it's known as the Sean Chan.
Okay.
I don't like them. I almost made my Willow moment of the week when Nynaeve tested and Nynaeve somehow knows how to unlock this bracelet. Who knows how? She somehow figures out how to unlock his bracelet long
very
distance.
quickly. In a very
Unlocks
short
it,
period
and
of time.
the Damani jumps up and punches his Suldam in the face.
Yes.
Love it.
It must have been a recent Damani.
Oh, it was fantastic. Yeah, it must have been because she didn't have the wherewithal beaten out of her to do that, and just jacks her one right in the schnoz.
And then runs off.
And then runs off.
Yeah.
Punches her in the face and runs off.
Run away.
What a great
Fantastic.
moment.
It was a great moment for the annoying Sean Chan to get one-upped. It was great.
Yep.
Yeah, that's my Coplin of the week. The Sean Chan people in general, because those two, even when they had her chained, like she all of a sudden became a slave, and was kissing their feet and just.
Mine is Fane because I wish that yellow-bellied sapsucker would have showed his face.
The guy we didn't read about
yours
is your
Fane
Coplin.
because
Fantastic.
he's absent.
Yes,
Yeah, he's absent.
I
This
want
whole
him to
book has been
die.
leading up to
Yeah.
Rand meeting Fane, and then he just doesn't show up.
Well,
I know.
I think then really your Coplin of the week is Robert Jordan. He didn't write him in
No, I
here at
think he
the
has a
end.
I think that's a
for
trick
it.
he's holding up his
Obviously-
sleeve.
Obviously, Fane is going to show up elsewhere, but he's
Yeah.
just always slithering away. when he
Fane
needs
also
to.
is if Matt's the meat in your teeth, Fane is the cavity and the abscess just waiting to eat your tooth out that the meat is stuck in. He's just always lingering.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah. He's the major oral surgery
Right, exactly.
of the book.
Matt's just a minor
no.
annoyance.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
It just really burns my biscuits that we didn't come to a head.
Yeah,
here.
I was hoping for a Fane confrontation.
Yeah,
but
well,
did
he
not get.
threatens Rand several times to get his butt out there so that they can have it out, and then Rand shows up. But
I mean, he was waiting a while. He was waiting 4 months.
he was waiting a while, and I don't think he was counting
But-
on a
You know,
Sean Chan invasion along
We're
with
joking about
the children
we're
of the
annoyed.
light.
I wonder how annoyed Fane is.
Yeah,
I would like to know
sure,
what he was
yeah.
doing
He's been
the
waiting for
entire
this
time
Rand
that he was-
confrontation he's not
that he
getting.
was
He's
just
been
running
entertaining
through the
Turok.
neighborhood.
Yeah.
He's been entertaining Turok and then wandering freely
Killing
around
his henchmen.
Falma, as you guys
Killing his
pronounce
bib
it.
Fortuna.
Him and
Yeah.
here's my baby bib Fortuna.
Right.
Here's an interesting story for the day.
Yeah.
All right, yep, that's mine.
All right. So who leveled up this week?
Whew. I mean, there's an obvious answer.
Well,
There
that's mine.
There is an obvious. I'm not going with the obvious answer.
That's
So I'll-
fine.
I'll
I'm gonna
answer
say,
first because I'm
gonna
going to
say
go with Adam.
I've been annoyed with Nynaeve a whole lot, but I feel like this week she really came.
Love it.
She had some really good leadership
I didn't.
Love
agree
it,
with
every
those
minute of it.
choices,
and
but
understanding
yes.
what needs to be done. And then also just seeing the fact that her girl Egwene went through a lot of garbage, being tortured by these people, and then being like, "No, you need to be stronger than that. If we're going to be able to survive this, you need to not do.
You need to not be one of
You
them.
need to not go to the dark side, essentially."
Yes.
Well, let's also
And then
not
they were
forget
just, and then yeah,
she figured out how
and
to
she was doing
open
this
the
without
Adam.
actually channeling and using. Well, no. Also, she is the one that is. How did she figure out how to take those bracelets off?
No
those
one knows.
ladies?
Well, don't
Plot.
forget
That's a
there
whole other
was that
leveling
one
up for her.
time when she trickled some of the power to try it on a Sean Chan before everybody in the area sensed that something was going on.
So
Oh, and
maybe
then they
she
had to hide
sensed
away
some.
for 4
Maybe
days,
she sensed
3
something
days.
about it then. Who knows?
She did.
Yeah,
there-
but
Slight
either
plot
way,
hole.
she's able to do it. She's able to take these off of them,
Yes, it
which
does
is
seem to
very
happen
impressive
quickly.
for her to be able to do. And then understand the fact that she has the bracelet on, and then it's the collar's around this other woman, and she realizes that she can't do that to Elaine.
Yeah.
Right.
There's just some
That's a
growth
great
on
moment, too.
There's
Nynaeve's
90 moments. I don't agree with her
Uh,
letting her not kill her, but that's
purview,
the point.
and I'm pretty happy about
vengeance.
it.
You wanted blood.
I did.
Yeah,
And
Nynaeve definitely
Yeah.
demonstrates some huge growth in the power here, and personally as well, for sure.
And wasn't really whining all that much.
Speaking of growth
None.
in the power,
yeah,
that's my level up as Egwene. She has become a destructive force of nature.
It's insane.
she has.
That is a good level.
I'm loving these.
Yeah.
I'm loving these. Who leveled up people this week?
She's taking down those Sean Chan left and right, flinging.
Not only that,
Leaves of destruction.
able to find ore.
Yeah, she can find ore in the ground, which is a male power.
Yeah,
Earth.
she can use the power of Earth,
which is really bizarre that we kind of learned about that.
And then she uses that against the Shan-Chan. She's throwing up the earth at them as they retreat.
Yeah, she's doing all sorts of fantastic business, and not only that, but more of a subtle moment, but not so subtle. So over the past 2 books, the relationship we've been pulling for Rand and Egwene to have some sort of, and even though we know it's not going to happen, and
we bid adieu to that last book.
Well, we really bid adieu to it here because Egwene has officially thrown her hat off.
Seems like it.
Really?
Yes, absolutely.
Where?
We haven't really bid adieu to it because Min brings up the point that there are going to be 3 women involved in this guy's life, and maybe it's Egwene.
It's interesting,
or maybe it's someone we haven't met yet.
I think it's more the exact moment where Min says, "You threw him away. What's wrong with me picking him up?" And Egwene does not rebut it at all.
She doesn't, and she walks away. But that moment, that whole confrontation,
leave it up to Dave to understand
that whole confrontation doesn't occur without some jealousy.
Well, you can still be jealous of someone that you don't want. That's very normal.
Someone you don't want,
someone you can't have, let's say, or isn't right. You can still be jealous of something that isn't right for you.
Man or girl that you don't want to be involved with, but
there's a difference between knowing something isn't right for you and not wanting it. Yeah,
I said the wrong thing. You can still want. We all know we can want things that aren't right for us.
You can want exactly.
I think that's the moment. I think that is a definitive moment where she officially has realized her life is in a different direction.
I think
that's
might be true.
That's a
I think she realized that before, though. But it
level
does
of
come
power
up
to give that up. I mean, that's a lot to give up.
So this moment was
and
a
not
surprise.
only that, but she doesn't retort. She doesn't come back in anger to Min's slightly catty comment.
It's a minor confrontation. It's not a major confrontation between these two. But this whole confrontation was really interesting to me because I did not expect. We've seen subtle hints that Egwene still harbors feelings for Rand. I expected her to have set those aside a long time ago because she was becoming Aes Sedai, and also she's one of the few people who's aware of, after book 1, who Rand is.
Yeah, and
yet there have been a couple of instances when they've talked about Rand and she's flushed, or we've seen some of her internal monologue, which has indicated that she still holds feelings for him. When she comes in on Min, I expected right from the get-go for her to, at that point, let everything go. But the whole confrontation between she and Min occurs because there is still feelings for Rand in Egwene.
Well, I think it's got to be weird, too. You've not seen any instance of Min and Rand up until now. And now all of a sudden, she's in bed with him.
By the way, none of this is reciprocated by Rand at this point. This is purely Min being there to keep him warm.
Rand's unconscious. So.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think I can agree that Egwene is making a conscious decision to let Rand go. But I think that Egwene has made that conscious decision before, and there's a difference between making a rational decision and letting emotions go. And so I will have my eye on her moving forward as to see, whether or not she's emotionally let him go.
And the fact that there might be another woman involved in Rand's life.
Well, there is another woman
that we haven't met yet.
Apparently, there are going to be 2 other women.
2 other women.
One of whom we haven't even been introduced yet. Thanks, man.
Yeah. Well, it seems like Elaine is one of them.
I would,
Yes, that.
Because she keeps
Elaine's
bringing it up.
That. Yeah.
I wish Rand were here.
Right, that's
against
great.
1,000 people.
Rand could solve this problem.
Speaking of Rand, that is my who leveled up. I'm going with the obvious here.
Imagine.
I'm glad someone did.
Right. One of us needed to, and so I'll take one for the team. But he's an easy take.
I mean, what are you going to say?
He
does everything.
He fights the ultimate evil at the end of the book. He's been drawn here. Everything
gets stabbed.
It's really interesting to have
Not
watched.
only that, he fights a guy who has a heron sword and earned it
Right. Let's not forget
over
that small little battle.
and years and years and years of practice.
Right.
And
Now
then Rand
he,
at some point is
he-
like, oh, no, I'm going to find the void.
Right.
I'm just going to fully attack you.
he finally
and
has to go into that in order to do it,
Slight
which once
cheatery,
again,
but
no
yeah.
channeling there, just the
No.
void.
No, it's just the void. It's not cheatery
The
at all.
calm.
No,
the calm.
channeling.
Good point.
Channeling, not
No,
cheatery.
David said
I
cheatery.
said cheatery.
Oh.
I said slight cheatery. But I was
No,
wrong.
it wasn't. He just found
Why does this other guy not
He
have
drove-
it? Tam had it.
he
This other
drove
guy should have
back
had it.
into what his father,
Lan has it.
quote, father told him.
Yeah.
And on top of
He's just not a
the
good enough
learnings
swordsman.
that he's learned from Lan and did it.
And he
Yeah.
finally is acknowledging what everybody's been telling him all along too. So there's that.
I have a question for you. Which defeat do you think is more impressive?
The sword.
Him using the sword or him channeling?
I think the sword.
I think the sword too.
Gosh, they're
'Cause him
both
channeling,
impressive
I
in
feel
different
like he
ways.
has no control over, and his sword he has been training at. He's
So,
been
you know what
working
though? The
forms
sword
all
is
the
kind
time.
of in both. It really is, because it's Lan's teaching that gets him through in Balsamon, and it's using the sword with Lan's teaching in the sword fight itself. So it really carries
Sure.
across both.
But he's
Yeah.
been
'Cause it's not the
practicing
channeling
one,
that
and
wins
he's been
against
avoiding
Balsamon.
practicing the other.
The sword sure seems like an interesting choice because he has been training and preparing for it. But
Yeah,
it's not
he hasn't
until
fought-
he's
been trying to
enveloped in the
perfect that.
void.
And then this other thing he's been trying to deny that he has,
Right.
which is obviously the more powerful.
But the void isn't the power isn't what wins the fight against Balsamon.
the void helps it.
It's the stabbing
the void
of the
certainly
sword.
helps.
It's
or
a sword
the
form
power
that helps
certainly
him. That
for a
helps him
while.
win. The power, right?
That's
he's
not what does win. No,
he's
what wins
using-
is
that's-
what was
yeah.
talked about.
I think that's
in
a
the
very
book.
I think that's a very valid point that he against Balsamon he is using sword forms. We don't see a fight with flame throwing and other sort of supernatural.
We don't see the Egwene battle
elements.
moments.
Yeah, it specifically goes into forms that he's using.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Right.
It's
So that's a sword
It's
fight
great.
as well. Unfortunately, it ends with his sword being melted,
Yeah,
but it's melted into Balsamon.
Right.
So there's that.
Yeah. there is that.
I think it's a great metaphor for the fact that his relationship with his father is not his relationship, but the fact that he feels like that was his father was melted as
Has
well.
ended?
He's come to
That's an
understanding
interesting
that it's
point.
not there.
I never thought
Yeah.
about that.
It's
And
there's
it just comes full throttle with the sword melting.
it's
Or
taken
full circle for
two
that
books for
What
that.
what sword is he going to use now?
matter. He needs a new
Yeah,
one.
he's gonna have to find something because obviously it's his preferred
Too bad he couldn't
weapon
steal
for
Turok's
battle.
one.
Right. Yeah, he probably
Well,
could
we
go
know
back
we
and
know
get
another story where the sword was broken and then melted
it.
again.
Then
So
remade.
Hmm.
Yes, in the fires of doom.
yeah.
So that wraps up the hunter or the Great Hunt.
I can't believe that we're done with this book.
I felt like this flew by a lot faster than the first one.
well,
I
it's
didn't.
much shorter.
Oh, well, that would be why.
Is it? I don't think it's much shorter.
It's shorter.
It's shorter. The next book will be about equal. The next book might be a little bit shorter still. Looking forward to
Survey says.
our next book, The Dragon Reborn.
Better accept
Oh,
that mantle
man,
of
what a journey.
responsibility, Rand.
What a journey it's been. We look forward to seeing you next episode then. Until then,
Yeah.
good night,
Maybe we'll figure out
everybody.
what Patton, Fane, and Tom are doing. I have no beard.
Right. Oh, you shaved it off?
No, I have a beard.
Yes, it's true.
Yes,
Let's
it's
spout
true.
that out.
This man has no beard.